We're live. Happy Friday. How was your week? I hope you've had a very good one. It is HB90 week over here. So we have been getting our plans going. I have been working on my vision board for Q3. I've been thinking so much about all of the good things that are coming up for the rest of this year. So Q3 typically is all about publish and thrive for me. And then Q4 is back into like Spooktacular and NaNoWriMo and Preptober and all of that kind of stuff. So it's busy, busy, busy. But I have taken this next quarter off of Publish and Thrive. So I will not be running that course again. And I instead will be focusing on my writing. So today we're going to talk a little bit about Q&A, Camp Nano stuff, accountability, 6 months for life, planners, all those fun things. So hopefully it's going to be a fun day. Harley, thank you so much for your card that you sent in the mail. I went and checked my mailbox yesterday, and it's so interesting because there was something in there. I'm not sure which package it was that was all the way from April that they had lost last time I went to go pick it up, and now it was there. So that is exciting. I love getting books from my students, but this one took my breath away. Rebecca Taylor's Once Upon a Lie. This is so beautiful. So she sent me a hardcover. This is really one of the first hardcover books I think I've gotten from students. Like I don't even have my own hardcovers because everything has only just been in paperback for me. But this is just truly beautiful. And let's see. Show you a little bit of the interior here, which you can tell was done in vellum for those of you that know. Just super, super beautiful. So Hannah says, where can I get your mailing address? My mailing address is in the description box of all of my videos on both Heart Breathings and Sarra Cannon. So if you just click show more, that address is there. But this turned out so beautiful, and she signed it to me. Sarah, thank you for all you do and give to your fellow writers. Publish and Thrive helped me accomplish this. Forever grateful. And it just is like, oh my gosh, I just love it. Gorgeous, gorgeous. Here's what it looks like with the dust cover off. I'm not sure where she got these done, but it's very beautiful. So always makes me so excited and so happy. And it feels so, in a way, sad to not be running Publish and Thrive a second time this year, because I know that it is helpful to so many people and it's always so fulfilling to me to do it. But I'm choosing my own writing this time, and I'm just like, okay, I'm going to get this book done. So we're going to talk about Nano. Let me put this down. I also got I got this book from Tracy Garner, the author Life Fix, along with a workbook that she did. So I'm going to be diving into this, and I don't even know anything about this book, but this is she said here, Sarah, you inspire millions, and me too. Your writing will return to you tenfold. Keep at it no matter what. A fan forever, Tracy. Like so sweet. So I love getting these books. There was a workbook with this. I also got some tarot cards that were regifted or destashed, which is exciting. But let me show you the coolest thing that I think I've ever gotten from anyone. I still cannot believe she sent this. I don't think she watches Coffee Chats, but Kim Roberts, one of my like early OG coaching students back when I was able to do coaching, sent me some Hello Kitty vintage. Like I don't even know what year this is from. So, but oh my gosh, it's metal. And she said this part has tape on it because the hinge is loose, but it opens with this kind of clasp and it's all metal inside. Oh my gosh. But that is not it. She also sent this one. These are from her childhood. Like you cannot even buy these anymore. And the fact that she sent this to me is just like, I'm a bit overwhelmed by it, but it says choo choo, all aboard, Hello Kitty Express here. And it says train on it. And then you open it and it's like a little card box, or There's so many things you could do with it. I'm probably gonna put index cards in this. I think she said she used to keep Barbie shoes in here, which I just think is the cutest thing. So I'm a bit overwhelmed. These will probably go on display. I will send her a personal note because I don't think she's on here, but I wanted to show you guys those items because they are so cute and I love it and I love it. I love it. Love it. I do want to try to get to the to the questions today because I feel like it has been a while since I was able to really answer all the questions, but we'll make it as far as we can. I saw just a question in the chat was like, does anybody here have ADHD that has found HB90 helpful? And I have to tell you, like, we have an entire Facebook group full of alumni, and so many people in that group have ADHD because I think it's really, there's a correlation. Like if you do the research, there's a correlation between people who are entrepreneurs and people who are neurodivergent or have ADHD, because I think it's just our brains work differently. And so therefore we try things differently. I do not have ADHD, but I do have other things that are closely related to symptoms of ADHD. Like I have trouble sometimes focusing. I have trouble with things that are out of sight, out of mind. I have a lot of problems with procrastination or getting distracted and things like that. And ADHD or HB90 can be extremely helpful for ADHD with pieces of it. There are other pieces of it that I think it kind of depends on what your particular flavor of ADHD is, because I know that for a lot of people with ADHD, trying to put together an exact schedule is just not going to work for you. And I think that's where the course really makes a difference from the planner, because in the planner, I can't give you all of the ways that you can adapt and change and shift the programs. Like it's just what is there in the class or in the actual printable planner, but it is super helpful for you to take the course if you get a chance. Neurodivergent as heck, and I feel it. Normal jobs and such are somehow harder than the chaos of being an entrepreneur. I think that it's a superpower in a lot of ways. And I know, I'm sure, like I can't speak for everyone here who has ADHD, but I really see those kinds of things like that make you different are can also be seen as your strengths. And I know that sometimes it makes it more difficult in a world where things are set up in a different way, but it's also can be a strength of yours to be able to be more flexible or adaptable, to have this level of creativity, to be able to hyper focus at times where you can get a lot done and then take, the rest of the week off. But I know that for some things, it's kind of difficult, or some people with ADHD, it's very difficult to think about task blocks or to think about having a specific schedule that you need to follow. But there are so many ways to adapt it, like using it and getting an idea of how much time you have. But then instead of actually saying, like at 9 a.m. every day, I'm going to write, which doesn't work for so many people, you just say, at some point this week, I'm going to write, but I know that I'm going to try to have an intention of getting this much done, and it can help a lot. So neurodivergent and having this program is amazing. Like I do feel like there are challenges, and there's challenges to creating a system that's going to work for everyone. And so I think it's just a matter of getting that extra bit of support and community. So if you are struggling to make it work with the planner, but you feel drawn to the system, I highly recommend taking the course, and it will open up again in September. So that is good. So here is something I wanted to talk about too, is 6 months for life updates. So many people, it's so funny because it's like not really a program. It's just something that I call like my own personal development kind of stuff. And I tried to start 6 months for life again at the beginning of the year. And this is one of those things about having your life publicly on the internet, is sometimes you have to admit when you try something and don't follow through. Try something, don't follow through. Try something, it doesn't work. Try again, try again. But hopefully there's somebody out there is getting something out of the fact that I try and don't do it, try and don't do it. And then eventually I try and something sticks. Because sometimes that is the way of it, that we are not really in the right place, or it's not the season of life. And I tried to do a 6-month for life session, or like 6 months for myself starting in January, and I was going to focus a lot on my health, my mental health, self-care, and I got some of that stuff done. So in that way it was successful, but I started the year with the flu. I had all these other issues. So I was like, no, I don't feel like I started it great. So I'm going to start again in start another 6 months for life again in April. Well, I also only partly followed through with that. So now I'm like, okay, we're just going to say that July or January to June was my first 6 months for life. And now we're starting over in July. And that was really the way I should have just done it all year, because that's that perfectionist in me thinking that if I say I'm going to do 6 months for life, that it's got to be perfect and I have to follow through on every single little thing. And I think that is where my true growth is coming from, is understanding that it's okay to not do everything perfectly and to just make a little bit of progress and not make all the progress. It's like I teach it, but sometimes following through with it is hard. And I know that the same is true for so many of you. So, I have been keeping my 6 months for life stuff. I always have to pull these bookmarks out in my tarot journal for the year, which has been a Sterling Ink Common Planner, and she released them this year in 6-month bundles. So this is the first 6 months. I have, let's see, this many pages that are left in it. So I have the rest of this month, a couple of weeks to finish, or 10 days. How many days are we out? Ooh, less than 10 days. So I probably won't finish everything, but I have filled this out pretty well, I feel like. And I've been keeping up with a habit tracker. So on all of these little bows that you see, I've been keeping a habit tracker, and I've kept up with that over the last 6 months more than I ever have in my life. So I have enjoyed that. And now I get to take out the second part. So it came in this cute little box of the Sterling Ink Common Planner. And you can see, just as a comparison, I was kind of hoping that I would put in more tip-ins and different things like that so that it would grow a little bit more. But you can see like how flat it is when you first get it versus when you've been in it for a little bit. 7 days until the 1st of July. So it's all blank, ready to be set up. So I'll be setting that up some this week. It feels so tiny compared to the one that has this here. Oh, Morgan says, I saw the announcement for her 2024 planners. They will be pre-order only, so it's worth checking out. I think most of these, I think a lot of people were very disappointed that you couldn't, I love this, that you couldn't buy these necessarily. I think she had some extras. So yeah, definitely worth thinking about if you want to try this planner for next year. It's a B6 size, so it's pretty small size. Apparently this black cover kind of takes fingerprints and stuff, but I cover it up anyway. But it has been nice, I think. She sells them as a full year planner. It's called her Common Planner for Sterling Ink, but she also sells them as 2 6 months, and I have enjoyed that. So I don't know for sure if I'm going to stick with this planner for next year, but I probably will. But yes, Kelly says it's 6 months for life, not 6 months overnight. We are definitely all a constant work in progress. But you know what? I feel like I have found such great momentum into, like, for this first 6 months. I feel like I am seeing a big shift in myself, in my own energy, in my acceptance of myself, in my ability to focus on the fans that are here and the people that are supporting me rather than the people that are criticizing me. I was really struggling with that the first few months of the year. And I feel like I've come out on the other side, and I'm trying to just decide, like, or trying to just truly move forward without worrying what anyone else says. And that is a hard lesson to learn, but I'm getting there. And I'm excited for this next 6 months for life. So I was curious if you guys would be interested in, um, a little bit more. I did at one point a workbook that was just kind of some journaling to get you in a place of 6 months for life. And I was wondering if you would enjoy a video that was a little bit more. So I keep talking in circles, but a little bit more about the process that I'm following. It's not as put together as a HB90 or anything like that, but I know a lot of people end up being curious about, like, what are you doing to figure out what your goals are for 6 months for life and how are you setting it up? And it integrates well for me with my HB90, but I was curious if you all would like to see a little bit more of, like, a presentation, I guess, about how I'm actually choosing what goals and how I'm setting myself up, because it is different than what I do for HB90. It's much more about, like, how do you take all the ways that you want to change yourself, for lack of a better way to say it, and choose which things you're going to work on. What are the foundational habits? And it's more of a game board strategy of, here's the order in which I'm trying to stack my habits and good stuff, you know? So I'm definitely seeing some yeses. So yeah, it's not going to be as, polished and put together as something like HB90, but I was thinking that I am looking for some content to put together for the month of July for our coffee chat time, because I will be moving, uh, not moving, traveling quite a bit in the month of July. And I just can't commit to every Friday afternoon. So I think it will be easier for me to just say, next week on the 30th, I think it is, will be our last coffee chat until August. And I'm just going to take the month of July off from live streaming, but I still want to have a video that goes up during our coffee chat time. So I think maybe doing a little bit of a explanation of how I set up 6 months for life, maybe a little bit of vlog style, but just sort of showing you how that works. And also, some people were asking, I posted my most recent vision board. Y'all, I do vision boards like it's going out of style. Like, I have a vision board on my phone. I have a different vision board for each one of my 6 months for life goals. I have vision boards are fun for me and I love them. So I could do a video also about how I choose what goes on my vision board and where it Jess, I'm going to pull that up in a second. Where I put things on the vision board and if that has any significance, how I actually put them together. So that might be another video. So Taryn asked, what do you mean with game board strategy? So I talk about this. I talk about this in Publish and Thrive, and I am going to be doing what I think I'm going to be doing. Don't hold me to this. I think I'm going to be doing, or I have been thinking about, a course for HP or for heart breathings about long-term planning using a game board strategy. And I'm going to be talking about this at the NINC conference in September. Please let me know if any of you are going to be there. I know this is not just an author chat. We also have a lot of readers and stuff here, but if you are an author and you're going to be at NINC, that would be, it would be really, really great to see you there. But I'm going to be talking about game board strategy there too. The idea of game board strategy is, instead of having an exact deadline or date that you know you're going to do things, like sometimes when people create a plan, like a 5-year plan for themselves, they think of it as something, oh, Caitlin's going to be there. Yay, we have to get dinner together. That's going to be so fun. Um, if you have a 5-year plan, let's say, a lot of the ways you're taught to create that is to say, okay, by month number 3 or in the first quarter, I'm going to have these 5 things accomplished. In the next quarter, I'm going to do these things, and kind of setting things out on a monthly basis where everything is tied to time. But when it comes to creative work, sometimes it is difficult to say this book is going to be done by April and that's the end of it, because we don't always know how to predict, or we can't always predict, depending on your writing process, how long it's going to take you for a book to come together, and how long it's going to take you to do long-term projects. Like, we can take short-term productivity and we can say, okay, I want to accomplish this much in this quarter, and that's great for short-term planning. But a lot of people want to at least be able to project, like, what am I going to do for the next 5 years, so that you can use that idea of where you're going to make decisions for what you want to do right now. Because knowing which genre you want to write, or knowing what business you want to start and where you want to be, that can be important for long-term planning, but it can also be very paralyzing for lack of a better word. It can be paralyzing to think that everything has to be done on a certain schedule. And if you take the time to plan 5 years in advance and you get one quarter in and you're already behind, your whole 5 year plan is off, right? Which then makes it feel like I have to take the time to redo the plan, or the plan was wrong, or can make you feel like you're building negative momentum. A game board strategy is where you say, it doesn't matter how long this is going to take. All I'm focused on in my plan is the order of operations, the dominoes and what order they go in. So the first domino is that I'm going to write the rough draft of the book. The next domino, when the rough draft is done, is I'm going to edit the book. But I'm also going to go ahead and get my editor. But it doesn't matter if that's October or next July. It's just, this is the order of operations. So it's kind of like, if you could think of it like dominoes, but you could also think of it like, I'm going to use, it's the second time today I have used crystals to indicate game boards and little game pieces. So imagine this is your little Monopoly board avatar or whatever. You've got yourself on this game piece, and you think about like a Monopoly board that you're on Boardwalk or whatever, or you're on Go and you're trying to go to whatever that first square is, Baltic Avenue or whatever. It's the same thing maybe with your career or your goals in some way, that you say, okay, I eventually want to get to a place. Let's use uh an Etsy sticker shop, just because I don't want to always use writing. Let's say you want to start an Etsy sticker shop and you want to eventually get to a point where you're able to quit your job. Okay, well, we don't know how long that's going to take. It might be a 5 year plan. It could be a 1 year plan. It could do it in 6 months. Who knows? So instead of focusing on how long it's going to take, you focus on the steps from where you are to where you want to go. So what are all the steps I would need to follow to start a sticker shop and start making, let's say $5,000 a year? Or a month, a month. And so you would say, okay, I am starting on this game board where instead of trying to do everything all at once, I am going to just learn how to make stickers. That's the first thing. And once you learn how to make stickers, the next step is going to be set up an Etsy store. And so you move your game board from the starting point to the next step. And then you already know what those next steps are to get to the $5,000 a month, but you're just taking it one step at a time. And you don't worry about how long it takes you to get from one piece to the next. You're just thinking about, okay, I know when I complete this section of it, I get to move to the next domino or the next piece of the puzzle or the next piece of the game. I probably would be able to explain it better if I had a graphic to go with it, but hopefully that makes sense. All right, let me answer a few questions. I'm going to talk about accountability a little bit. And then if anybody has any questions here. Lizzie Bell says, I am not published, so I can't join NINC. Are there other organizations or conferences recommended to those who want to become authors? So my go-to recommendation used to be Romance Writers of America for anyone who was writing anything romance tangent or related, but that is not the case anymore. So yeah, Society of Children's Book Writers International is helpful, but I think also there are so many organizations that are tailored more toward people who are either traditionally published or people who are already publishing and need to have a specific already have a specific sales threshold that they've met, which is the case for NINC. Like, you can't get into NINC or go to NINC unless you've sold X amount of books in your career. But I would say something more along the lines, I don't know. I'm trying to think of conferences for those who are hoping to become authors. I really don't know. More like online conferences, but so many things are tailored toward people who are already publishing, and they really focus pretty heavily on marketing rather than like writing, which is one thing that I feel like is missing now that RWA is not as prominent as it used to be, because they always had different tracks when you would go to the conference, and it would be like, these are the ones that are for people who are just getting started as writers. So this is teaching you how to write, but these are the things that are teaching you how to market your books or get an agent or whatever. I personally wouldn't say 20 books to 50K, but maybe for those of you that have been there, you can tell me if it's different. But what I've heard about 20 books to 50K is very, very heavily targeted towards people who are publishing and people who are publishing in Kindle Unlimited specifically, but there's not a lot of writing stuff there. If you were just getting started, or like stuff for brand new authors that are not planning to be in Kindle Unlimited. But I could be wrong. I could be wrong. And I have heard that they are trying to add more stuff that's for wide authors, but in the past it has been very targeted for people who are doing Kindle Unlimited. So if you're just getting started and you're doing Kindle Unlimited, you could do it that way. It is, but there are amazing people to talk to. So if that aligns with your values and what you want to do in your author career, definitely go for it. I think it kind of depends on your values in a way, in terms of um like, I don't know. I don't want to get into it. I don't want to get into it. Yeah, but yeah, it is definitely, I would say it's, if you're in a place where you don't know yet what you want to do, I could definitely see 20 books to 50K being super overwhelming. But if you are already a publishing author and you kind of already have your foundation and you're already grounded in who you are and what you want to do, it would probably be super helpful. But I think that I think it is difficult to go there when it comes to like brand new, never started before kind of thing. So yeah, so I could see this. You can ask anything and people try to give their best answer. But again, I don't want to go into it too much, but I also think there's a lot of misinformation that's spread in a lot of things like that. So we'll just move on. So I can't remember what I answered and what I didn't answer 100% from the chat. I know I went and tried to delete the ones that I had already answered, but then I might be asking something twice. So, or answering something twice. Gwen Darcy said, "What advice would you give someone who wants to enter Authortube in 2023? And what do you wish you could tell yourself at the beginning of your Authortube or YouTube journey?" And I thought this was interesting because Sequoia specifically said, tips for vlogging your author experience, like when you're writing at a coffee shop, just day-to-day activities. There's an art and I want to learn. So those are both kind of on the same level. So one thing about AuthorTube or YouTube is there's really multiple different styles. And I think it can be helpful if you were thinking about getting into AuthorTube to think about who you ideally are trying to attract and what your purpose is behind doing it. Because my channel started out a lot more tips for authors kind of thing, right? And so I didn't even tell my readers about it very much. It was like, okay, I'm doing this thing and it's completely separate. And my like ideal customer, so to speak, not really customer, my ideal viewer is a writer. But there are also other author tubers who their ideal viewer is fellow writers who are in the same stage that they're in. And I think there's a bit of a difference. So if you look at, for example, a channel like Jenna Moresi's channel, or Abby Emmons or Alexa Dunn, the majority of what you see from their channel is tips for writers. And they're usually sit down, what you would call talking head kind of videos with tips very specifically, like 10 ways to write a good villain, reasons why your first draft sucks, like different things like that. And that is one specific type of content and one type of viewer that they're specifically trying to get to their channel. But you also see successful author tubers that are doing more vlog style, like Kate Kavanaugh. And I think Natalia Lee used to be a little bit more like this, where you're really showing more behind the scenes of what you're doing in your writing career. Like, what does my office look like and what's going on with my life? And it's more vlogging. And you'll see now on my channel at Heart Breathings, I do a bit of all of it. I talk more of like writer's life, but I also will do a lot of sit down kind of videos, and I do planning videos. So I kind of mix mine up a little bit, and that might actually hold me back in terms of my overall reach. So I don't always recommend mixing it up, but I would take a look at, if you're really wanting to get into AuthorTube, I would really take a look at what type of video are you mostly wanting to create? Is it tips for writers, or is it day in the life type stuff? Because I think you're going to be looking at two different audiences for the most part when you do that. Doesn't mean there won't be some people that interact, but think about what your goals are. Now, you will also see like this channel, Sarra Cannon channel, is I mean, you could still call this Authortube, right? But I'm doing a lot of live streams. I show more about like my writing process from a reader's perspective, things that I think the reader would be interested in more so than writers. And then of course I do readings. I've been reading stuff. You see a lot of authors that will actually post their entire audiobooks and stuff online. So I think it's just getting clear about what type of channel do you want to create and what uh who you're trying to reach. Like, are you trying to sell books on AuthorTube? Or are you trying to connect with fellow writers? Are you wanting to sell courses to writers? Like, what's your ultimate goal? And you may not know 100%, but you can at least kind of point yourself in a direction. So that's one thing. Another thing about advice for anybody looking to start YouTube is don't wait until you think you're perfect or you're ready. Like I said forever, oh gosh, I really need to like have the perfect background. I got to have the perfect camera. I need to wait until I have, enough money to do XYZ, or I need to make sure I have every little thing figured out. And I think that I waited probably like if I think about my HB90 Kanban board stuff way before I actually had a YouTube channel and was teaching it, doing a YouTube channel was probably on my to-do list slash long-term future parking lot for years, 2 years, something like that. I don't know if George is watching or not, but it was at least 2 years that I was watching people on YouTube and wanting to start a YouTube channel. And I held myself back for multiple reasons. One was my appearance, that I thought, well, I'm not pretty enough to be on YouTube. I think my teeth are kind of like crooked, silly things when I think about it now. It's like my teeth don't bother me now. I don't know if they bother anybody else, but if they do, I certainly don't worry about it. But it's like I was worried that I didn't have like the look, and I would compare myself to other people who were doing YouTube. And so I had that. Then I also like watched people like Marie Forleo. She is not a YouTube author tuber. She's not an author tuber, even though she does have a #1 New York Times bestselling book. She's not a fiction author. She has a channel that's more for business and entrepreneurs, but I used to watch her channel all the time. And she is like the perfect, like hair, perfect um, outfits every time. Yeah, it was a long time. And I thought I've got to have the perfect backdrop. And you can ask George. It was a long time, but it was also I kept trying to set up like the perfect backdrop for my videos, get my perfect camera and all this stuff. And I just literally held myself back over and over and over and over. And then I wanted to do planner content, but everybody told me you can't do planners and writers. That's stupid. That's going to hold you back. You need to niche down. So I just lack of being able to make decisions and feeling like I wasn't pretty held me back from starting. And so I waited for years. And then when I finally decided to jump in, it was great success. So it was like, whatever. That was just silly. So yeah. So another one of those perfect kind of channels is Amy Landino. She's like always very well put together. Her backdrop was always perfect, and so if you compare yourself to that and feel like you need to go from zero to, somebody like Amy who has, I don't know, 350,000 subscribers, and you need to be at that level of quality of your videos, then it's just going to take you forever to do it. And so what my advice is if you want to do it, just kind of put that thought into what type of channel you want to create and who you feel like your ideal viewer is. And it can change, so it doesn't have to be perfect, but just get into it. And then just use whatever equipment you have. So over time, I have shown this. I've got this DJI, like speaking of making vlogs, I have this DJI Pocket 2 Creator. I love this little thing. This is my third one. You just turn it on like this. It has this little window here that you can see what you're doing. You can turn it like facing you, so you can do it selfie mode, but it's a gimbal. So like you can move around and be shaky and your video won't be shaky. And it just takes a little micro SD card. This little thing is more expensive than you would think. I think it was, I ended up getting one on YouTube or on eBay for maybe like $300, but I think it is pretty expensive. It's like $400. So it may not be an entry level thing. I also had grabbed this camera, which is a Sony Which one is this? This is like my main camera is a Sony A6400, but this one, it doesn't say. Yes, it does. Is the A5100. So I also have this camera, Sony A5100, and it has a flip screen so that you can see yourself if you are like have a a tripod or something like that. This is also a really good camera. The drawback to this camera, this is a good one for vlogging, but it's not as great for just like sitting down because you can't add a microphone to it. Like I can kind of grab mine. Hopefully I won't drop anything. I was just recording earlier today. So this is my like beefy camera. I did not have any of this stuff when I was first starting out. I used a webcam. Like for the first year of everything I recorded, I used a webcam and my phone. And then gradually I started adding things to it. So this is a Sony A6400 with a special lens and it has a special microphone on it. But part of the challenge, please don't fall, with this one is that you can't add an external microphone. But honestly, if you have a webcam and you have a phone, that is all you need. And sometimes if you're planning to do any like top-down videos, you would need something to hold your phone up over your desk, and you would need some kind of little microphone that you can plug in. And I think I got the like top-down phone holder for maybe $25 on Amazon. So you can like phones are great. The problem with phones and vlogging is that if a lot of times if you turn on the anti-shake stuff on your phone, the video will look really weird. And holding your phone like this in selfie mode and talking, sometimes you end up moving your hand a lot. So I think if you want to use your phone for vlogging, try to get at least like a little tabletop stand so that you're not constantly holding your phone because it can get a little bit shaky. And if you watch like my first year of NaNoWriMo Diaries, all of that was recorded on my phone and it still worked, but just be aware that it might be a little bit shakier on the video. Also, it can be super helpful to learn how to edit and to pay attention when you're watching other YouTubers that you like. Uh, Pay attention to their style because as Sequoia says, there is kind of an art to doing vlogs, especially writing vlogs. And I find them incredibly fun to do. And I'm still not even anywhere near the quality of what some of the people I look up to have in terms of vlogs. But I think over time, my NaNoWriMo vlogs and stuff have gotten better, but I think it can be fun to think of it as a story instead of, well, and here's my other biggest advice for vlogs is, and this goes for whether you're blogging about writing or you're vlogging about anything. And for those of you that are like, what's a vlog? My friend, my best friend Kelly, she's so clueless about YouTube and anything that I do for a living, but she's always like, she calls them vlogs. What are you doing? You're recording your little vlog thing, but it's basically a vlog. It's just a video that's sort of like slice of life where you're showing different parts of your life and like telling a story, right? And so it always makes me laugh, vlog. But a vlog is basically just that sort of storytelling. And one of the biggest things you can do for yourself is sit down and think before you start vlogging. What do I want to tell people about? What do I want to show? And what do I want to make sure I get clips of? Because when I was just getting started, I struggled so much with recording a bunch of footage and then sitting down and being like, okay, I got all this footage, but I didn't get a single picture of me at the actual coffee shop, or whatever. And so sitting down, like one of the best things I've done for myself is sitting down and thinking, what are the things I know I want to get shots of and making a list of it. So I'm like kind of a shot list. So I'd say I definitely want a shot of before I go to the coffee shop talking about my goals. I definitely want to get a shot of me walking into the coffee shop. I want to get a shot of me working at the coffee shop. I want to get a video of me talking about how I did when I was there. Yes, vlog, video blog. Thank you, Kelly. So I would have those 4 things listed out. And that way I know when I come home, I've got those shots at least and I'm not missing something. And that really helps. And oh, thank you guys for saying that you love the nano vlogs. I love doing them. They don't bring in a lot of new subscribers, but they're probably some of the most fun videos that I do. So yeah, make yourself a loose outline. And I find this to be true with all of my videos these days, especially because I'm not doing a great job of it, but I'm trying to incorporate more B-roll, which is hard because it takes a lot of planning. And because I do all my own edits, which I need to find a video editor, I just haven't chosen someone to help. So those are my biggest, I guess, tips for it. I was thinking about maybe even doing a series on YouTube, a series of videos on YouTube about how to get started on Authortube. So we'll see if I end up having time for that this year or not. But biggest advice, don't hold yourself back because of any of your own insecurities. Just force yourself to get out there and do it, because I guarantee that you are pretty enough, you are intelligent enough. There are going to be people out there that want to watch you, but also, come in and tell our community, Heart Breathing's writing community, tell us here on the coffee chat. Let us know that you're doing some vlogs, because we want to be able to support you. So make sure if you start a vlog or you are an AuthorTuber, like go ahead in the comments right now. If you're doing AuthorTube or you have your own actual channel, just say me, and maybe we'll put together a playlist of all the channels you guys should go check out. Authors, Susanna says, how do I find the right critique partner, since they will literally be looking at your thick and thin, good and bad, judging it for the best? Yeah, so JD, I also talk about you on my video that'll go up tomorrow, because I was talking about our accountability stuff, which I'll mention in just a minute. So we got Brecca has one as well. So if you get a chance, if you're in the chat right now, you can probably just right click and there's going to be probably a lot, and open people in new tabs. So we got Catlin and Juanita's Creative Corner, Mel at Power Press. I always say Power Press, Power Play Press. Thank you. So we've got Rachel doing some videos these days. We should definitely make I know Renee is sadly not here today because she's a little bit under the weather, but I need to make a playlist of everybody here that's on our coffee chat so we can all go support each other. So how do you find the right critique partner? Sometimes I think it can be trial and error, and it can also be being clear and upfront about what it is you're expecting from them, and making sure that your values kind of align and that your styles sort of align. I have had really amazing critique partners like JD, Jen, one of my best ever critique partners. I have also had critique partners that made me cry repeatedly and made me doubt myself as an author for the rest of my life. And so one thing I can say is look for critique partners in the communities that you potentially hang out with most. So in the Heart Breathing's writing community, we have a connections thing in my Discord server. Here in the coffee chat, if you happen to start up a conversation, or you can put a comment here that's like, who else is writing, et cetera, et cetera. It can be really tough because you are bearing your soul, like your baby, your writing to someone, especially if you haven't had a lot of feedback in the past. So I think it can be helpful to work with people that you already get along with, that you already feel like are kind people that are really fun. Like I found Jen from the NaNoWriMo forums. She had posted a video saying like, here's my vlog, speaking of vlogs, of getting ready for Nano. And I was like, oh my gosh, I think you guys were going out to play Frisbee golf. And I was like, I would so love this girl. Like I can already tell, because she was talking about gaming or anime and stuff. And I knew that we would get along. And I think that played a lot into how well we work together as critique partners. And just that when we started talking about what we wanted to get out of our writing, it was very easy to tell she was going to be a kind person. One of the people that was my harshest critique partner, I kind of ended up critiquing with one person, and then that person invited this other person to come join. And the first person I was with was really, really good friend of mine. Like we were becoming friends. The second person that joined in was not someone I was like new as well. And I knew right from the start the way that she was very condescending about the type of stuff I was writing, and stuff like that. I should have backed away immediately. So watch for those warning signs of people that are really condescending. Like, if you're going indie and they're trad and they're like, oh, you're just not, that's not real writing or something. Like, that's not the kind of person you want. If you write romance and they're like, oh gosh, anyone who writes sexy scenes is just trash. Like, that's obviously not a person you want to critique with, because you want someone that's going to enjoy the genre that you're writing. But I think it can be most helpful to find people that are already your friends, because, or already in your community, because they're going to be kind. And I think that makes a big difference. And, there's always the option of not using a critique partner at all. I don't have a critique partner anymore. There are people that I feel like I'm nervous, but I kind of want to reach out to and be like, would you be willing to read this book? But I don't know if they would have the time or be willing. So that can always be something that is difficult too, of like, how do you reach out to someone and ask if they want to critique? But I think in the end, you just say, hey, would you want to swap chapters, or, something like that. And really think, it can be helpful to have someone who's kind of on your level rather than somebody who is like way more experienced than you are, because sometimes their critique will be more harsh. I don't know. Maybe I need a whole video on this too. Maybe Jen needs a video on this. Do you have a video on finding critique partners, Jen? Because I think you've had more critique partners than I have. Brooke says, have you tried the book description generator or AI book blurb generator on Kindlepreneur? And do you think it is a useful tool to help create a short but succinct blurb? Are there any ethical concerns we should consider? It's like, we have 14 minutes left of this live stream. Do we pull the AI controversy out of the box, or do I shut it down immediately? I'm probably not going to talk about this a whole lot either, because this is a safe space for all. So if you are using AI, go forth and do your thing. And if you are adamantly against it, then go forth and do your thing. So I haven't looked into any AI tools other than, I think I mentioned this before. Google messaged me, Google sent out their email and they were like, get on to Bard, which is their like new AI. And they were like, play around with it, come try it, get a beta. So I was like, I'm going to sign up for the Google Bard beta and just see what it's about. I literally spent about 5 seconds in it, and I just was like, I don't know what to ask it. Okay, give me 10 great young adult paranormal or young adult thrillers to read. And I was like, that should be easy enough, right? Like, I could have just gone to Google and done that, but I didn't know what else to do because I haven't been playing with AI. And it listed 10 books that were titles with all the wrong authors. And I was like, well, I don't know what I'm doing. And I just closed it. So I have no experience to talk on whether it's good or whatever. Ethically, I think we could talk about that for a really long time, and we could get into some heated conversations that might add stress to an otherwise happy place. So instead of talking about it here in this particular space, I will just say, I think the biggest worries about AI, very briefly, if I can keep this succinct. One is that it is not necessarily accurate. And a lot of people are thinking that because it spits out something, that it's going to be the best or most accurate thing. But I could tell you from that very first thing that it was like, One of Us is Lying by Holly Jackson. And I'm like, okay, that was Karen McManus that wrote that. Holly Jackson wrote A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. So it's spitting out internet results, but it's not always accurate, and it doesn't have a way to check its own accuracy, first of all. Second of all, AI has been trained on other people's work, and Google very explicitly says that it is only pulling from things that are freely available on the web. Is that actually true? Is it true with Chat GPT? I don't know. I cannot speak to it because I don't know. But I do know that some people have used Chat GPT and other AI tools to get ideas for marketing, to get better book blurbs and things like that. But I will warn you to be careful about using it to actually write your books, just because I think you just need, I'm not saying you should or you shouldn't, because I accept all people here, regardless of whatever, but being careful, because it doesn't have a way to check whether it's actually plagiarizing anything. So it's definitely learned from other people's writing. So it might actually be pulling in entire phrases. So unless you have a way to make sure and check that it's going through a plagiarism checker, you want to be very careful about having AI write books for you. But it can also be a really great tool to brainstorm and to get ideas. So I think we could probably, if we wanted to start a discussion on it, we could probably talk about it for years. uh, and I think it's going to be multiple years of it playing out as to what happens with AI, what becomes, a lot of people are debating the ethical ideas behind it. So I certainly can't say. Um, but right now, I think it's mostly safe to try it for idea generation and then go ahead and take it, like use it as a brainstorming partner and then go ahead and take it and make it your own and tweak it and change it so it sounds like your voice. But I would be careful about just saying, here, AI, please spit out a blurb and then using it 100% because it might not actually be the best blurb for you. But I don't know. I don't know. Chelsea, I'd love to hear about your reading habits, whether business and craft related or for joy. Thank you for asking about that. My reading habits are very slow these days. I feel like when Andrew was born, I read more than I have read in years and years and years because he was always in my arms and I just was up sometimes in the middle of the night for hours and hours. And so I read a lot of books and I loved it so much. But then as he got a little bit older and then after I was trying to write and do heart breathings and I had another baby, it has been difficult to find as much time as I want to read. And so this is also part of my 6 months for life goals is trying to work my reading more into things. Ideally, in my ideal reading life, I would always be reading one nonfiction and one fiction at the same time. I'm currently still working my way through Wheel of Time. I am on book 9. So I'm halfway through, a little more than halfway through, and I'm getting there. But I also am a member of Book of the Month Club, and I have no less than 30 something hardcovers that I have still not read. So I want to get into those as well too. So I think this is something I'm working on because my reading habits are not as, and I'll tell you why my reading habits are not as great as they used to be. And this is part of the fundamental issue of being trying to be hyper productive and kind of being a workaholic, which is something that has happened that I've had to pull back from. One is that I sometimes, when I go to read, I get so immersed in the book, specifically fiction, obviously, I get so immersed in it that I am scared to pick up a book to read it because I know that I will stay up too late. I will miss my other deadlines and it will distract me from the other things that I need to do. Because, if I get into a book, I'm not going to bed till 3 a.m. And I know that I'm in a place in my life right now where I cannot afford to only get 4 hours of sleep or 3 hours of sleep. And so I don't read because I have a hard time stopping myself from reading when I'm really into something. And so I don't read at all because I'm scared to pick it up and get into it too much. And now I'm like, okay, Sarah, you got to read because you love it so much. And I've been reading more this year. I don't really have a books I aim for per year. It'd be great to read, 24 books a year, 12 fiction, 12 nonfiction, but I don't always hit that. And I know there are some people here who probably read hundreds of books a year. So, okay. See, I knew even just in the chat, there's disagreements about AI, and uh, I knew that this would get to this, but I will pull this up. Putting in your own content doesn't mean you're giving up your copyright, and I really, it's like I probably should do a video and pull into heart breathings, just because there's so much question on it. But I'm also scared because I know it's going to bring up people that get very angry, and it's like I hate being in a polarized sort of situation. But I do agree with that. A lot of people are like, you shouldn't write in Google Docs. And people are pushing a lot of fear because Google will own your copyright. And people have said that for years. Just not true. Putting your stuff into AI doesn't mean that you're giving up your copyright to it. Now, might mean that you're training AI on your work and it will now use what it's learned from you in other people's stuff. I don't know how that works, but it's not going to hurt your copyright. So just be careful about sharing information that is not true. But that's why I'm like, I don't want to talk about it. I know these are important conversations, but it's hard. Catherine, how do you get into writing another book? I just finished edits on my first one and now I'm working on edits for my second book. Problem is I can't seem to get into it. I'm still stuck on the other book. So if it's the same series, then sometimes it's okay to still be kind of stuck in the other book and thinking through it. If it's like, okay, now we're moving to a second book and it's not related to the first one or they're not related at all, I think that it can be super helpful to like actually have some kind of ritual where you release the old one. Of course, I enjoy like rituals and things like that, where you just say, okay, this book is finished. I'm releasing it. I'm letting it go. And then really immersing yourself in the new book. Like, what is it that gets you excited for the book? Is it talking about it? Is it, like, is it doing a vision board for the work, getting onto Pinterest? Is it reading other things in that genre and just kind of reset yourself in that way is kind of the best thing I can say, because it also might just be that you need more time between books, because I'm somebody who I can't finish a book and start a new one the next day. Like sometimes you just need a different book. Jessica said, are you still planning to read the rough draft of The Witch's Key live on YouTube? Yes. And I know, I mean, I don't even want to talk about how long it's been, like 3 years now plus since I finished The Witch's Key. But when I get to The Witch's Door, I will read it live here on YouTube. Oh my gosh, I'm not going to make it through. I'm not going to make it through all these. We have 4 minutes left. Before we go, the last thing I wanted to talk about, and we will continue on with questions next week, or maybe some of the videos for July will just be me answering Q&As without the chat. That might also be good. Just had that thought. But accountability before we go. I'm going to talk about this for those of you that follow Heart Breathings as well. There is a sorry, I'm getting distracted by talk about AI. I shouldn't have even mentioned AI over there. Okay. Accountability. I've got a new video coming up on Heart Breathings tomorrow that will have a Camp NaNoWriMo workbook, and I talk about this stuff there, so you'll hear it kind of repeated. But if you are in a place where having outer accountability will help you, and you're the type of person that having outer external deadlines help you, I will tell you what I'm doing with George and with JD. So George and I came up with, yet again, like we've done this before with a sweetie store and rewards and trying to earn, and it kind of stopped working for a while. So we're trying something new. So we have our bank accounts kind of split into like personal, family, et cetera. And we have this little bank account that was meant to be for saving for vacations years ago. So when we were planning to go to Disney like a few years ago, I put a small amount of money in there to like start a little savings account. And that money's just been sitting there. And so we had this discussion of like, what if I work for rewards, but then it's like the carrot and the stick. So George is going to help hold me accountable. But if I just say to George, I want to finish Act 1 by next Friday, he'll be like, okay. And there's no stakes here in terms of whether I'm going to hit it or have any kind of motivation to hit it or not. So I'm sort of hacking and gamifying my own productivity by saying, we're going to take that little bank account and I'm going to rename it something like Sarah's Writing Fund or Sarah's Accountability Fund. And we're going to set deadlines. So when I hit a deadline, we will sit down and sort of negotiate a new deadline for the next piece of the story. So my first deadline is Act 1 of my book needs to be completed to the point where he can read it and it's deposited into his email by next Friday. So that means fully edited, readable, good story, all of that kind of stuff. So I have the deadline of next Friday. If I hit it, I get an additional sum of money put into that bank account. If I don't, then I get double the sum removed from the bank account. So there's a reward, but there's also a penalty, and the penalty is stronger or bigger than the reward. So yeah, writing retreat fund would be a good one for that, because then I could use that money to go to a hotel or do, writing retreat or whatever. But the good thing about it is that I get rewarded. Let's say it was $10. So if I say, okay, I hit it, I get $10. If I don't hit it, he subtracts $20 from this account. And so it's kind of like, yay, it's a reward. But if I don't hit it, it's like putting me back and back and back. So hubby is not my critique partner. He's my alpha reader, which I feel like is a little bit different from critique partner, because he doesn't know enough about writing to critique necessarily, but he is an alpha reader. But you could call him a critique partner. So that is one thing that I'm doing, is a reward / consequence deadlines with my husband. That's more than just, now we had a really strict one before where he would literally burn my washi tape, but we're not going that harsh right now. And I have a few things that I'm specifically saving for. So I think that will motivate me. The second thing is JD Robinson and I have she set it up a spreadsheet in Google where she's going in and putting in like what her goals for the week are. And every single day she's updating it. And then there's a section for me to do the same. And she has been filling it out. I have not, but I will put stuff in there today. So maybe that'll give you some ideas. Like, even if you don't find a critique partner, but you need some outer accountability, it can be helpful, low stakes accountability, to just have somebody else checking in with you. Did you get your writing done today? Did you not? Whatever. Or if you want to add more stakes to it because you need a little bit more, reason to stick to it, a little more motivation than just my husband and I set a deadline. You could put money on the line. What we used to do is little things like packs of pens or other things that I had gotten from the Dollar Tree. It could also be rewards that you get that are non-monetary rewards if you're on a budget. So it could be things like, I get to go to the park this weekend, or I get to take all of Saturday off, or I get to sit and binge watch, Naruto, or whatever it is. Just make a list of things that make you happy. And also, another thing that I'm doing for myself is I have set up a separate Kanban board, and it's so redundant because I have multiple places where I track my writing, but I have a new Kanban board just outside this door, since this is my writing room, where I'm specifically putting each chapter on a sticky note. And when I finish it, I get to move it. And that for me is like a reward of getting to move that sticky note. So I have multiple ways to build this accountability, because my goal for July for Camp NaNoWriMo is to finish The Disappearance of Vanessa Shaw and get it up for pre-order. So now that I have made that commitment and I have told you all that, then you guys can also help to hold me accountable in a kind and loving way. Let's hope. All right. So I know that we have gone a little bit over time, but thank you so much for chatting, and thank you for not getting too heated on the AI, because I know it's a discussion that can be difficult. I saw several of you mentioned the t-shirt, so I'll move so you can just see it. This is Coffee and Books. There we go. This is from Piper and Ivy. I love their t-shirts. They are a little bit, I would say, like, they run big. So I am wearing a medium, where I normally would wear a large or extra large. So that gives you kind of an idea. I think they're Bella Canvas cotton shirts. So they have super cute bookish shirts. Hello Kitty blind bags. Yeah, I've tried that before, and it wasn't working for me specifically. Now, if he said he would take them away from me, I think that would work a little better. I think I need this carrot and the stick both. So we're going to experiment with it. But thank you all for being here. We will have another coffee chat next Friday. And then all of July will be pre-recorded videos with live chat availability. And I will still join you in the live chat. And then we'll be back to our regular scheduled lives in August. So I hope to see you next week. Thank you so much for hanging out with me during this hour and having these good conversations. And if you want to ask any kind of question that I can answer in July, I think I will do some live Q&As for that time. So, all right. I super love you guys. I will see you next week. Bye for now.